prominent, very prominent Black female, 66 years of age, renowned in her community, accosted by the police, pulled out of her car, assaulted, and it's on video. Here it is.
What the?
Give me your phone. Put your hands on the bag. I'm not resisting.
Bro, you crazy? You tripping?
He's doing the job.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show. Put up the picture full mass. This is going to make you really upset. Marilyn Jean Fields, a 66-year-old Black woman from North Carolina, known by everyone for her community volunteerism, admits she parked her vehicle illegally. That's it. Along with other cars in a fire lane on a rainy day to buy bread. She was not the only one parked in that area for convenience due to the weather. However, she argues this did not justify Officer Karl Blake Davis, 22 years of age, Kinston police officer, pulling her out of the car, slamming her against the car, forcing her face down into the asphalt while sitting on top of her and ordering her, "Stop resisting." A witness video captured Fields saying, quote, "I'm not resisting," as the officer sat with his full weight on her body. Now, I've told you all this before when we've talked about cop interaction. Police officers who are enlightened, sometimes they are former police officers, they will tell the truth. One truth that has been told is that cops will yell, "Stop resisting," just to provide cover for themselves. You don't have to resist. They are trained by the unions, by the way, to yell, "Stop resisting," to insinuate there's a weapon when there is none, etc. The incident took place on July 18th, about 6:50 p.m. after Fields pulled up to a grocery store during the pouring rain to buy a loaf of bread. She noticed other cars parked in the fire lane as well, which is a common occurrence in that city. It's called a cultural norm. However, once inside the store, an employee came on the loudspeaker and advised customers to move their cars from the fire lane because the police had arrived and they were issuing citations, meaning not even an arrestable issue is going on here. We're just giving tickets. We're trying to get this money, okay? There's more. However, once she pulled out the fire lane, she was leaving. Once she pulled out the fire lane and headed towards the exit, the same cop who already had an interaction, slight, the same cop stepped in front of the car, waved her down, ordered her to stop. He then demanded her driver's license to issue her a citation. Fields said the cop spoke to her in an aggressive tone as if she were a dog and asked the officer if he spoke to all citizens in a similar manner. But before she knew it, he was pulling her out of the car. Remember, this is a 22-year-old cop pulling out a damn near 70-year-old Black woman because of a non-moving violation, a citation, okay? Slamming her against the car before placing her face down on the wet asphalt with his knee on her back. A witness began recording. After the cop was already on top of her, telling her to stop resisting and to place her hands behind her back. But she said it was difficult placing one arm behind her back because it was under her body and he placed his full weight on her. Can we go back to the screenshot again? I want to make sure we highlight the truth of her statement there, okay? She was then transported to the police station where the cop left her car running in the parking lot with the doors unlocked, her purse sitting on the passenger seat. He took no care, no concern. Members of the community knew Ms. Fields, contacted her family to let them know about the running car. So they drove to the parking lot and secured the car. She said in a phone interview with Atlanta Black Star. And big ups to Atlanta Black Star, great reporting here, Carlos Miller and Cruz. There's a statement from the cops. So the police department said they initially were called to deal with a driver who had locked their keys inside the car. But then the officer noticed the cars parked in the fire lane and began issuing citations. Oh, that's it. He took initiative. That's right. He was there to actually do some real decent work. You know, somebody locked the keys in the car, cop comes, hero of the day. And then he says, pouring rain, let me do citations rather than go to the store and say, hey guys, come on and move your vehicles. It's in the fire lane. All right, y'all have a good day. They said they were initially called just to do a locked key from an individual in the area. He saw other cars. He began to issue citations. They posted a following statement on Facebook on July 19th describing their side of the story. Now here it is. Here's the spin. KPD officers were called to 2407 North Heritage Street regarding a vehicle parked in a fire lane with the keys locked inside. Upon arrival, officers began addressing multiple fire lane violations. During this time, Marilyn Fields, 66, of Kinston, attempted to drive away from the fire lane. Officers stopped Fields and attempted to address the violation, but she refused to comply with the investigation. What investigation? It's a citation. Fields continued to resist officers and was eventually taken into custody. She was cited for the fire lane parking violation and arrested for resisting a public officer. Fields was released on an unsecured bond. Can we talk about the legalities just for a moment? Let's talk about the legalities. Number one, it's a non-moving violation. It's a non-arrestable offense. It's not even a misdemeanor in the city. It is considered to be an ordinance violation. It's a civil penalty, okay? It's a civil penalty. You have a non-arrestable offense. It is a civil penalty. She's not required to take the citation under the ordinance rules. This is not a normative ticket, okay? Literally, if they didn't come outside, they would have just put a citation on the window because it's not required. They signed for it in lieu of bond. Once again, non-arrestable offense here. So she is literally doing what the law requires, leaving. She's in the fire lane. Nobody has ticketed her yet. There is no citation, so she's leaving. She's acting in compliance with law, and then the law enforcement officer decides to stop her because he did not get to the car in time. That's not how it works. If you leave before the inspector comes, you're good. It's a non-moving violation. There's more. Phil's nephew, who goes by King Yara on Facebook, said the police have a long history of racial profiling in the town with a population of about 20,000 people made up of mostly Black people. But despite the population of Kinston being made up of more than 64% Black people and white people making up less than 25%, according to the US Census, the police department only has a handful of Black officers, said her nephew. In 2019, police officers met with members of the community to discuss ways to improve the systemic racism that has resulted in inequalities between white and Black members of the community, according to WITN News. In 2017, the Black residents filed a lawsuit against the city, claiming the city was targeting historic Black houses to demolish under their condemnation program while ignoring white homes. There's more. The suit was dismissed at the lower levels before making its way to the North Carolina Supreme Court, which determined in July that the lower court had erred in its decision. it vacated and remanded the case, meaning it will go back to the appellate court to allow judges to get their minds together and do the right thing, or the high court will. Here we are. I want you to think about how extreme the situation was before that video. Because remember, we don't have the video of her being pulled out of the vehicle. We don't have that part. Thankfully, the young man who started recording, he did it proper. He did. He stayed out of the way. He made sure everything was documented. He made his complaint known just like every other member of the community who saw it. And now that becomes the damning evidence against the cop, against the city, and hopefully transformation can start. Perhaps it can take place. But she will get justice, in my opinion, civil justice included. But will this 22-year-old cop be arrested? And that's exactly what should happen. Francesca, thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, look, these are the situations that can easily escalate into something like the shooting of Sonia Massey, right?
Yep.
It isn't another officer that can't keep their cool. They are supposed to not only enforce the law correctly, meaning don't put hands on people over a citation, but also they're the ones who are supposed to de-escalate situations and certainly not escalate them. And 9 times out of 10, what are we seeing? The cops always escalate. You guys, I've said it again, and I know there's some holdouts on this, but this is an issue not of training. It is an issue of culture. It is how police are told and taught. It is the culture of the very institution. And so, for example, if we need to, if you don't like defund the police, here's a very concrete sort of subsection of defunding the police. Take the traffic enforcement out of police hands. Have traffic enforcers. They're not armed. They can still give you violations. They're not gonna put hands on you. They're certainly not gonna escalate a situation. You're not gonna get a Sandra Bland situation where a woman ends up dead, right? Who is killed for a simple, what was it, a tail light that was out. So again, there are ways, there are mechanisms beyond, Doc, what you're saying, which is hold these cops accountable when they're putting hands on 66-year-old women who absolutely do not deserve it. And it doesn't matter what she said to him. What if she got him mad? It doesn't matter. You're a police officer. You're supposed to rise above. You keep your cool. You hand her the citation, you take her plates. She can go on her merry way. If she gets a citation in the mail, so be it. So be it. No, it's just wild, and I'm glad it didn't get worse. But you're right. Cities like this, look, in North Carolina, it's all across the country. This is not just this city. It's not just Kinston. It's so many counties that are going through this.
Yeah, and the irony is, if she was already out of the fire lane by the time he wrote the citation, meaning he still had not written it, she's going to beat that case as well, because the officer cannot eye an ordinance violation. It has to be in real time.
Right.
This is just utterly ridiculous. We're going to stay on top of it and give you the updates. All right.